The mental health and well-being of our children is the focus of this year's Child Month theme. Prioritize our children's mental health, strong minds, safer future. We spoke with an associate counseling psychologist about this year's theme. Take a look at the interview.
We have Miss Sophie Mayer. She is an associate counseling psychologist. And Miss Mayer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, so the theme for Child Month 2026 is prioritize our children's mental health, strong minds, safer future.
That's correct.
What exactly is mental health?
Mental health is a state of emotional, psychological, social well-being, and it manifests itself in the way that we think, the way that we feel, or behavior, or the way that we act, how we manage stress, and how we relate to others.
What are some of the things that can affect a child's mental health?
As the theme says, prioritize our children's mental health. And I really believe it's a clarion call to all of us to really pay attention to our children's mental health. Now, there are several things that can impact a child's mental health. All right, so a child within the context of the family, right? All forms of abuse. So we're talking about physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, right?
Okay.
Can impact a child's mental health. We also have neglect, right? So if you neglect the child in terms of their physical needs, if you neglect the child in terms of their emotional needs, right?
Okay.
In the home, depending on what is happening in the home. So for example, if there is divorce or separation, that can impact a child negatively, right? If there's a family member in the home, for example, that is abusing a substance, that can also have a negative impact on our children's mental health, right? If the child doesn't seem to have a voice in the home, they're not able to express themselves, that can also cause problems. Dysfunctional family systems, right? Is the child attached to the parents, especially from a young age? Was there bonding in the home? Does the child have an outlet to express their negative emotions, right? Is the child validated in the home? Right, so those are some other things. Some other things include if there's a parent that has been incarcerated, that can also negatively impact our children. And there are several other things, but those are some of the few. Bullying. Wow. Yes, that is one that's
a big
really
one
on the radar now.
Yes.
In terms of bullying, all forms of bullying, the physical, cyberbullying, those can impact or children's mental health, even their own self-concept, how the child views themselves, because they can have a negative self-image that can also impact a child's mental health.
Okay.
So those are just a few.
What are some of the things persons can do to positively impact a child's mental health?
At the very basic level, we have to ensure that we are seeing to the physical needs of our children, all right? So we're talking about food, we're talking about shelter, we're talking about clothing, we're talking about medication, ensuring that our children are going to school, all right? So that's first and foremost. We have to ensure that that is happening, right? We also have to ensure that our children are in a safe environment, all right?
Okay.
So in terms of physical safety, right? But not just physical safety, but we also have to ensure that there is safety in terms of emotionally. So are the relationships that the child is involved in safe? Are they in safe relationships?
Okay.
Right? We also have to ensure that we protect our children from
Definitely.
all forms of abuse.
Abuse.
And as we listed them before, we're talking about physical abuse, verbal, emotional, sexual abuse. And just to talk about, for example, sexual abuse. Sometimes we may even have family members that we trust and we leave them in the care of those family members, and they end up being abused.
Okay.
So if it is the caregivers that are going to be taking care of your children, you need to have references. You need to know about these persons to determine whether or not these persons are safe and you can leave your children with them.
Okay.
Right? Now, we talk about the physical needs, right? But in addition to that, we have to ensure that their emotional needs are
Taken care
also
of.
being taken care of. So, do they feel as if they belong? Do we create that environment that says that you are welcome here and that you matter? Right? So we're talking about the nurturing environment. We're talking about a loving environment. We're talking about an environment that says that you are very special and that you are unique. Right? And as I talk about uniqueness, it is very important for parents that have, and caregivers that have more than one child, to understand that each child is unique. Right? And so we don't compare.
Right.
Because so often one child may be excelling in a particular area, and our expectation is that the other child must do the same. Right? But we have to understand that they all have their own strengths and abilities, right? So we do not compare, right? It is very important for our children's self-esteem to be built. Right? So we have to validate their feelings. We have to help them to understand that they are actually very important, right? And that they each have their own skills and abilities. So we have to build up their self-esteem, right? So that's very important. We also need to have a healthy balance between nurturing our children and disciplining our children. Because sometimes we end up being skewed in one direction. There is that imbalance, right? So we have to discipline our children, but it must be done in a loving way.
Okay.
And we have to have the foundation of a loving relationship in the home, so that when we do have to discipline our children, they will understand that it's not because you don't like them, right? They understand that they are loved, right? So those are some of the important things that can help to build up. Let your child have a voice, right, in the home. Listen to your child. Listen to them. They have their opinions, right? And even if you don't agree with them, you can tell them your opinion in a healthy way as well.
Yes.
Right? So we try to validate their feelings. And sometimes, they don't even have the words to tell us what they're feeling, because you might ask a child, how are you feeling? And they say they feel bad. So it's important for us as adults to ourselves be able to help them to say, okay, I'm angry, I'm sad, I feel disgusted, I feel embarrassed. So we have to help them to be able to be aware of their feelings and can name their feelings, right? And very important, get involved in your child's education. That's a good way to ensure that, they are built up.
Right.
So those are some of the things and some of the ways that we can impact them.
How can we identify children who are having some mental health challenges?
All right, so the first thing I would say to that is that it's very important for adults, parents, and caregivers to empower themselves with the knowledge of what health looks like, right? Because if you don't understand what health looks like, and especially with your child, then you will not see the pattern so easily. But once you understand what health should look like, then it's going to help you to understand, okay, so
What
the
is
first
not
thing,
healthy.
right? If there is a deviation in the normal behavior and emotional patterns of your child, so you're looking for changes in their mood, and just to say that normally we have changes in our mood, but we're looking at prolonged changes, right? It's going on for a long time. All right. So you're noticing, for example, that they have a very depressed mood, a sad mood. All right. We're looking for changes in their appetite, the way they eat. We're looking for changes in their sleep patterns, right? Are they engaging in the activities that they would normally engage in and find pleasure in? Do you find that they're withdrawing? So withdrawal is happening, right? So they don't want to participate in anything. They just want to be in their own space. And I'm not talking about, because though we have children who want to be on their phone all the time. I'm not
All
talking
the time.
about that, right? I'm talking about they just don't want to engage any at all, right? So we definitely have to be looking out for this. Is there regression in their behavior? For example, they're regressing to a stage, an earlier stage in life. So let's say, for example, they got over bedwetting, but you notice that they're starting to wet the bed again, right? And you probably took them to the doctor. The doctor is saying that they're not seeing anything physical that is causing this. That's a clue right there. Are they having nightmares, right? Or avoidance behavior. So you notice that normally they'll be willing to go down to Mass Joe house, and all of a sudden they don't want it anymore.
Yes.
That can be a red flag that something is going wrong. Is there a decline in their school performance? So depending on how they would normally perform, are you finding that for a while now they are underperforming, right? Is there secretive behavior? So normally they'd be open with you, but you notice that they seem to be hiding, right? And just to say, I'm putting in a little plug here, self-harming is on the rise. So for example, if your child never normally wears long sleeve, they don't like long sleeve, but all of a sudden, every minute you're noticing the long sleeves, that can be a red flag that they may be self-harming, and they're trying to hide it. Right? So these are some of the things that you are looking for. Basically, any form of distress that your child is having, right? Any changes in how they relate is something to look for. So those are some of the things that you are going to see.
What are some of the ways in which the safety of children, or even the safety of society, may be compromised as a result of children having poor mental health?
In mental health, there's a saying that we have. There is no good health without good mental health. All right? And when we talk about health, we're talking about health of the body. We're talking about health of family systems. We're talking about health of the society. All right? So you can see from that if our children are not mentally well, then you're going to have family systems that are not well, and eventually you're going to have societies, communities, the nation that is unwell.
The domino
because
effect.
it is right, because there is that connection. We can't isolate them, right? And we're seeing that, right? We're seeing that. So mental health is going to feed into safety. If our children are not mentally healthy, then there can be unsafe practices that our children engage in. So for example, they may end up in risky behavioral patterns, right, because of the mental health problem. We're looking at smoking, we're looking at drinking, we're looking at staying out late, we're looking at,
Promiscuity,
all of these things, right? So it makes them unsafe, right? And it also makes the household unsafe as well, right? Because they're at risk, and so the family is also at risk. And the society becomes at risk, because at the end of the day, we're not all going to be here all the time. We are going to go off the stage, and the children are going to be the ones taking over. And so if they are not mentally healthy, then the society is not going to be healthy, and the society is not going to be safe. Right? The society is not going to be safe. I just want to say, previously I asked about what are some of the signs. A sign that a lot of times we don't like to talk about
Mm-hmm.
is where there may be evidence of a psychotic disorder. So disorganized speech, they're talking and they're not making any sense, or delusional behavior. They're saying things that it just cannot go like that. Or they're hallucinating, they're seeing things that are not there.
Okay.
This might be evidence of a psychotic disorder that needs to be addressed.
Right. Okay. All right, Miss Mayor. Is there a final word you would want to leave with the audience concerning the theme for Child Month? Prioritize our children's mental health. Strong minds, safer future.
First of all, I want to say that we have to be intentional about securing our children's mental health. It is not something that automatically happens. And as adults, parents, and caregivers, we have to remember that the children are here because of our actions. And so we have to take responsibility for our actions, right? And I also want us to understand that, a child's health is not only about their physical health, right? So sometimes parents and caregivers feel that they've done enough because, hey, I'm taking care of you, I'm providing for you, there's a roof over your head, I send you to school, that's enough. But that's not enough. We have to pay attention to their emotional development. We have to pay attention to their emotions, right? We have to pay attention to their thoughts, right? What are the messages we giving them? We need to give them positive messages. We need to help them to understand that they are unique and that they are valuable and that they're cared for and that they are loved and that they are important. It doesn't say that we cannot let them know that they have a responsibility as well. So we want to teach our children responsible behavior.
Indeed.
And from a very early age, we need to teach our children a sense of right and wrong.
Yes.
Because sometimes, that is feeding into the behavior that we're seeing. Just a basic sense of right and wrong. I want to encourage parents and caregivers, don't neglect the spiritual side of your child.
Amen.
Right? Not just the physical, not just the emotional, but also pay attention to the spiritual side of your child. Right? Because that is also very important. Children are not just our future, they are our now. What happens to them now is what's going to inform the future and how they show up in the future.
We interviewed a few children to find out what are some things adults do or say that makes them feel stressed out. Now, what's something adults do or say that makes you feel stressed out?
Sometimes adults shout at me that make me feel sad and angry.
Wow. Now, what would you recommend to adults to have them improve that?
Like they reason it out with me so that I can feel better.
Definitely. That's a good one, Kemoya. Thank you so much. Now, what's something adults do or say that makes you feel stressed out?
Okay, something that adults do or say that makes me feel stressed out is when you do something wrong and they belittle you instead of giving constructive criticism.
Wow. Now, what would you recommend to adults to correct that?
Okay, so I recommend that parents, instead of degrading your child by using destructive language, you should say something that would uplift them, or or at least correct them about their wrong in a way that they won't feel belittled.
That's very powerful, Rihanna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, Isaiah, what's something your parents or adults do or say that makes you feel stressed out?
So, when my dad comes into my room at 3 a.m. at the weekend and I'm still awake, when he gets up and to go to the bathroom.
At 3 a.m.?
Yes, for some reason. When he walks out, like my room is facing their room. So when he steps out, he sees my tablet on. And the worst thing about my tablet is the screens are extremely bright.
Yeah.
So when my father steps into my room and he says, please, can you turn off that? Turn it off. in the calmest way possible.
Whoa.
It like stressing me out. It feels frightening. My heart sinks, and then I just immediately turn off my tablet, plug it in, and then tuck myself in like nothing ever happened.
So it stresses you out when your dad gets up at 3 a.m. and sees that you're still on your tablet.
Yep.
Now, what's something that he could do or parents could do to improve that experience?
So my parents don't really tell me to go to bed on a weekend. If it's like a long weekend, they let me stay up for a bit, and then when I get tired, I just go to sleep.
So if they recommended a bedtime for you on weekends, that would help to improve
Yes.
that. Okay, that sounds beautiful, Isaiah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Summer, what's something adults or parents do that makes you feel stressed out?
Sometimes I feel like they just can't admit that they're wrong or admit their mistakes. Or even if they don't want to say it out loud, they don't acknowledge that they're wrong at all.
Okay, so they never acknowledge to you personally that they are making a mistake or that they are wrong.
Yes.
Now, what's something that you would recommend to them to improve that?
Well, I would recommend at least acknowledging that you can be wrong. Yes, I am a child. I am still growing in this world, and I might not know the whole world like you are experienced. You know, wisdom comes with experience, or experience comes with wisdom, and vice versa. But I feel like just acknowledging that you can be wrong is a good thing to do, because you're also a child as well. If you're a child of God, even you can make mistakes.
That's true. So acknowledging that we must be in humility. So we must be in humility. We must remain humble.
Yes.
In humility. That's a good one, Summer. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, Ajani. Now, what's something adults do or say that makes you feel stressed out?
For me, something that adults do that stress me out is comparing me to other children. I think that when you compare your child to another person or another child,
Yes.
I think it not only demotivates them, but it also makes them want to strive to be like that person, to please you.
Right.
And in reality, you should be striving to be your best or the best version of yourself. Yeah.
I agree with that, Ajani. I know the Bible says comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? So what's something that you would recommend to adults or parents to kind of correct that?
What I would recommend to adults or parents to kind of like demolish the whole comparison thing, I think as a parent, in order to like motivate your child, I think you should, tell them even when they're not doing their best that, you can do it, and, just be there for them instead of putting them down.
So it's more to give them words of encouragement and guidance to improve on the
instead of just comparing them to others or letting them, you can let them know when they're wrong, but motivate them at the same time instead of putting them down and belittling them.
That's a good one, Ajani. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So there you have it. The children have spoken. Now, adults, do your best to avoid things that cause undue stress to your children. We want them to have a strong mind and a safer future.
Indeed, the mental health of our children is of paramount importance. We should take inventory of the things we say and do that can negatively impact the way they think and their safety. According to 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, and it states, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. God wants soundness of mind for our children. I want soundness of mind for them, and so should you. Let us do our part.